Welcome to the North State Breakdown with Benjamin Nguyen. The Shasta County Board of Supervisors will meet this Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, at 9 a.m. at 1450 Court Street. Several items are notable regarding Tuesday's meeting, including a lawsuit related to a community-driven charter amendment, potential changes to public comment procedures, a sizable donation from Redding Rancheria for veterans services, and updates on opioid prevention programs and social services funding. R1. Supervisors' Reports and Legislative Platform. As usual, the meeting opens with countywide reports and legislative updates. But this time, R1 may include discussion of a legal challenge the county filed targeting a citizen-led ballot initiative. This initiative attempts to impose voter ID, eliminating mail-in voting, and restrict voting to a single day, policies that are likely illegal under both state and federal law. The Elections Task Force responded by accusing the county of lawfare, and one of their members, Richard Gallardo, is calling supporters to pack the meeting, even demanding County Counsel Joseph Lamore be fired. Lamore's appointment was already controversial, approved on a 3-2 vote and tied to Chair Kevin Cry through personal connections, raising concerns about cronyism. Next up is R2, Veterans Hall donation from Redding Rancheria. A rare bright spot on the agenda, the board will vote to accept a $508,000 donation from the Redding Rancheria to replace the roof on the Redding Veterans Hall and fund renovations at the new Veterans Services Office. This generous gesture comes at a time of dwindling federal and state funding, especially with the anticipated budget cuts from the Department of Government Efficiency. Next up is the consent calendar. There are several notable items included in the consent calendar this week. Item C1 involves the purchase of a fire rescue boat costing over $384,000, while C3 covers the purchase of personal protective equipment totaling approximately $329,000. These are amongst the largest expenditures listed and represent significant allocations of Measure B and other designated funds. Also included in consent is item C6, which is the appointment of Stacy Watson to the Shasta County Mental Health, Alcohol, and Drug Advisory Board. This appointment had been previously delayed from the February 25th meeting, where Supervisor Matt Plummer requested more information before approving Watson's appointment. During that same meeting, another candidate, Don Duckett, was denied a seat. Duckett, a conservative advocate with both personal and professional experience in mental health services, addressed the board passionately, citing her background and dedication to the mission.
I feel I'm uniquely qualified for this position because I almost lost one of my sons to heroin addiction. And by the way, he's been clean and sober for 6 years, but he was very near death. And I walked that walk with him, and I have a lot of personal insight as to the programs, the wellness and recovery programs that worked and were effective, and those that weren't.
However, Supervisor Kellstrom criticized her past participation on the Elections Commission, stating she had undermined the panel and later resigned. Duckett responded that she had disagreed with the direction of that group and withdrew when she believed it deviated from its mission. She stated her commitment to the Mental Health, Alcohol, and Drug Board would be different, emphasizing her lived experience and efficiency-focused approach. Despite this, Supervisor Kellstrom maintained his objection, and the board voted against her appointment, raising concerns about the politicization of advisory board selections. R3. The board will hear a presentation from CORE, Community Opioid Response and Education, sponsored by Supervisor Cry, about youth programs funded by opioid litigation settlements. The community will want to track how these funds are allocated and whether they serve their intended purpose. Next is R4, Restructuring Public Comment. This item could fundamentally change how residents can engage with their government. This proposal would restrict all general public comments to the start of each meeting, without the option for overflow periods at the end. Chair Cry claims this is less restrictive than in other counties already facing litigation, but not allowing an overflow option effectively silences residents who can't attend early due to work or family obligations. Even former Supervisor Leonard Modi's comment structure allowed overflow periods. While the Brown Act does permit some flexibility in structuring public comment, it requires the public be allowed to directly address the legislative body on an item of interest within the jurisdiction, including non-agenda matters during regular meetings. Limiting comment to a single window at the start of the meeting without offering an overflow or secondary opportunity could arguably reduce accessibility and raise questions about compliance in both the spirit and practical implementation of the public participation rights under the Brown Act. Next is R5. The City of Reading is requesting changes to the county's funding terms for a $100,000 minimum revenue guarantee with United Airlines. The county insists on being the last-in funder, which complicates the city's ability to secure support from other donors. The city is asking for a more collaborative match fund structure. R6. With social services nearly depleted due to state billing and rising IHSS costs, the county is proposing a temporary $10.5 million general fund transfer. This follows an invoice from the state totaling $6.8 million, with additional monthly charges still to come. The board is attempting to stabilize this essential safety net, albeit under financial pressure. R7. The decision on the old courthouse building. The board will decide what to do with the old courthouse. Options include full demolition with parking lot, demolition while revisiting what to do with the property during budget hearings, partial demolition with repurposing, or maintaining it temporarily. Annual maintenance costs will be over $200,000, making demolition the most likely option. It is unclear if there will be consensus amongst the board regarding what to do once the building is demolished. There was some interest in a community park, but Cry has stated that he is opposed due to restrictions tied to park designation grants. Next up is closed session, where the board will speak behind closed doors without public oversight. Once back from closed session, any reportable items will be discussed with the community. R9 involves existing litigation, Robison v. County of Shasta. R10, which is the initiation of litigation, is likely related to the elections task force litigation discussed earlier in this episode. Next, the board will convene is the Shasta County Housing Authority, where labor negotiations are still underway for SCIU workers in the IHSS division. Care workers recently held a strike and are planning another one on March 21st at Park Marina. This meeting is not just about policies. It's about power and whose voices get heard. Don't let limited comment time dissuade you. These meetings are about you, the people. Show up, speak out, make sure they hear you. And that's the agenda preview.